Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Environmental Justice Now. My name is Leah Jones, and I am the organizing coordinator here at Virginia Interfaith Power and Light. Thank you all again for joining us for another week of Environmental Justice Now. As usual, we like to start off with a brief land acknowledgement to recognize the land that has been previously taken from our indigenous neighbors. So I'm currently on the land of the Chickahominy and Powhatan peoples. If you would like to know whose land you are on, you can always visit native-land.ca to find out. All right, so today, as we wind down our year, we are gearing up for the General Assembly next year. This is a special time of year where our laws are made in the our House of Delegates and our Senate come together to go through the process of the General Assembly session. So we'll be talking about that today, what goes into it, and what advocacy looks like for Virginia Interfaith Power and Light, and specifically what we're prioritizing this upcoming session. So to walk us through, I also have with me here today Kades Gabray. Hey, Kades, how are you?
Hi, Leah. Happy holidays and happy holidays to everybody. I'm doing well, and I'm excited about our upcoming General Assembly. And yeah, so I'm here to let folks know what we have going on for next year.
Awesome. Absolutely. I guess just to start us off, I found this quote from Amanda Gorman. Some of you may recognize her. She gave a speech, presented a poem specifically at Joe Biden's inaugural service, where she gave this really beautiful poem. It's just this quote I have here. There is always light if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. That quote, I feel like, really is on brand and really resonates and is the perfect kind of, I guess, way to bundle together and I guess set ourselves up as we go into advocacy, just setting us up with the right mindset of what we're doing this for. There's always opportunity, there's always light. We just have to be brave enough to see it, and we have to be brave enough to take action and do something about it. So being what we want to see. I think this quote is really impactful when we talk about advocacy, just to get things started. As far as us, just going off of that quote, and thinking about taking action and being what the changes you want to see in your world and your community. Just a little bit more about how we at VIPL view our advocacy. As you all know, we are an interfaith organization. So the way that we connect our advocacy to this basic principle of caring for our neighbors, caring for others. All faith traditions in some way do call us to care for our neighbors and honor our interdependence with the natural world. And advocacy and participation and civic duties like General Assembly and advocating for what you want in your community is a really big part of that, caring for your neighbors. So this legislation and every legislation is continuing to prioritize environmental justice and support common sense and just legislation to strengthen the laws protecting the health of all Virginia residents and the environment to maintain our quality of life and our dignity in this life. Specifically, some of the policy goals that we're hoping to accomplish in the upcoming session include protecting all Virginians' access to energy, water, and gas utility services in times of crisis, particularly. Also, we're rooting to protect the health of all Virginians statewide by offering guidance for a healthy community, strategy for our localities and municipalities, comprehensive planning. We're also working to protect Virginia's water resources and increasing funding for water infrastructure in the state of Virginia, as well as protecting the reduction of greenhouse gases in all industry sectors, especially in our energy and transportation sectors. And this last priority is definitely a big one, defending the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, also known as RGGI, in the upcoming session, because we know that it will likely face a lot of heat as it did in the last session, in the 2022 GA session. So definitely staying abreast of that in the upcoming session, and we're going to need your help. Those of you watching, to lobby with us. And just a little bit more now about General Assembly itself, in case you don't know, or may not be a super seasoned lobbyist, or have heard about the General Assembly but need a refresher, anything along those lines, just some basic information. The General Assembly is the legislative body of Virginia that creates and changes laws for the Commonwealth. And our General Assembly is actually the oldest General Assembly to exist in the Western Hemisphere, which is a fun fact. So a little bit more about the General Assembly. It does meet annually for either a short or long session, with the option to extend the session for a maximum of 30 days. Next year, in 2023, the session will convene on Wednesday, January 11th, and run till about Saturday, February 25th, unless there will be an extension, and there most likely will be an extension. So last year's session was long, but luckily this year, this upcoming session, it will be a short 30-day session that is frequently extended to 45 days. And it is happening in person this year. So get your cue cards ready, get your index cards ready, whatever you need to go down and lobby, your signs, all that good stuff. As far as thinking about our General Assembly this year and what we have up ahead, it's definitely important to consider our current political climate and what we're up against, as we're pushing for our policy priorities and the bills that we're supporting and trying to protect this session. And our political climate, if you're comparing this past year's session in 2022 to the upcoming session, it has not changed much from last year. We do have still a Republican governor, Governor Youngkin, and we do also have a Republican House of Delegates. The good news is we do have a Democratic Senate, and we, like I said, it has not changed much from last year. So this climate, is definitely important that we stay on our toes and are staying up to date with all of the pushback that we may receive, and come to our legislators who may be in need of support of specific legislation that they're trying to push forward, especially as it relates to our priorities for the session. So yeah, I think now we can move on to our issues and what we're specifically supporting in the upcoming session, and Kadesh can share more about the specifics.
Sure. Thanks, Leah. And I believe you did cover a couple of our priorities this year when you went over our advocacy goals. One of the bills that we're pursuing this year basically includes an environmental justice planning and locality comprehensive planning. So we're asking localities to, when they're doing their comprehensive planning, to include an environmental justice review and an environmental justice strategy that will focus on community health. And this looks like considering pipelines in the community, the air quality of the community, and really putting our water quality at the front of our locality comprehensive planning. So we're asking that Virginia allows localities, cities, and counties to incorporate an increased focus on community health into their regular comprehensive planning processes and efforts. So if a locality decides that it would like to improve community health and environmental quality, the General Assembly should empower them to do so. So this bill would allow Virginia localities to consider a healthy community strategy and provide guidance in their comprehensive plans for raising positive community health outcomes by identifying the siting of air, water, and other pollution sources within its jurisdiction or locality. And additionally, localities also may encourage feedback from those impacted communities and create a plan that incorporates strategies and programs that could target and improve the planning process. So this looks like input from community members to see how their community would look like moving forward, and making sure that we are incorporating our impacted folks in the planning process. The next bill that we're also following is another bill that we've been trying to pass since this past session. Is a utility shutoff protection during states of emergency and extreme weather. This will be patroned by Delegate Irene Shin. And this bill basically would limit the ability of electric, gas, and water utilities to disconnect customers from these essential services during extreme weather events and states of emergency, whether that be local states of emergency like a local flood or a national state of emergency like we saw with COVID. And it would also limit the ability of electric, gas, and water utilities to disconnect customers during periods of very hot or very cold temperatures, extreme weather events, or weather warnings and advisories. We have seen recently, because of climate change, that there's an increase in our very hot temperatures in the summertime, and we've seen our cold weather temperatures really become extreme. So this will protect vulnerable communities that cannot pay their utility bills during that time from becoming shut off entirely, and losing access to things that they need to stay warm and be alive during the winter and the hotter months. And this matters because Virginia does pay some of the highest electricity bills in the country, and because Virginia law allows our utilities to basically regulate themselves. Affordable electricity bills are critical to fighting the climate crisis. And we know that 75% of Virginian households spend an unaffordable percentage of their monthly income on energy expenses. So this bill would tackle the energy burden crisis, and as well as tackle the climate crisis by allowing our utilities to help keep prices fair for Virginia families and small businesses, but also to make sure that they do have access to these services during dire moments. So yes, and we also have additional bills that we're supporting. Like Leah mentioned, we'll be protecting Virginia water resources, and supporting increased funding towards water infrastructure. And we also will be focusing on bills that will be reducing energy bills for Virginians. So that looks like supporting a solar minimum bill, supporting the Affordable Energy Act bill, and the rate adjustment clause reform, which will be covered at the beginning of the year, right when we dive into the General Assembly.
Yeah, great. So I guess that about wraps up everything that we're looking forward to in the upcoming session. There's definitely a lot more details that we could get into, but we won't because it's really easy for things to get really complicated when you start going into the weeds. But if you are into that and would like to know more, and are interested in the details and getting in the weeds and being on the ground with us, you can visit our website here with our General Assembly priorities, everything that we just shared here with you today. more information about what we're trying to accomplish in the upcoming session, what we're defending, supporting. There you can also find an updating document that will be available with all the bills that we're following in real time, where they are in the session, where they have been approved by communities or have been passed on by communities, whether it's upcoming, when, and as well as talking points if you would like to participate, and even smaller things like participating in social media, quick quotes that you can easily copy and paste, and share on your own socials. So definitely an awesome resource if you want to participate and advocate with VIPL in the upcoming GA session. In addition to that, we do also have a lobby training if you would like to hear even more, and trying to stay up to date with us and VIPL and everything that we're looking forward to in the upcoming session. We have had one already, but we are having our second one January 5th. Once again, you can register at this website right here, vipl.org. But as you can see, we will be having another lobbying training in person and via Zoom on January 5th at 7. So if you have some free time and are interested in advocating in the upcoming General Assembly session, we hope that you can do it with VIPL, and we're looking forward to seeing you there. Thank you all so much. Cadessa, is there anything else you wanted to add before we log off?
I think that sums it up. Hopefully, we'll see you advocating for environmental justice and clean energy bills this session.
Yes, looking forward to it. Thanks so much, and we'll see you on the next